What is up, everybody? It's Chase here, and today I'm back again with my Arcanist tank. But I have updated this build a bit because it got nerfed slightly, so yeah, I'm giving you the updated version. So you should thank me for this. Now, like always, it, let's go over the basic stats and then the advanced stuff. Right, so I got 2k magika recovery, 4k health recovery, about half of 3k stamina recovery, 42k resistance, 3k weapon and spell damage, 41k health, 12k stamina, 15k magika. I'm still a high elf from last time. Alright, now let's go over the buffs real quick. Hang on a second. I went up to 49k resistances. Now if I pop my ultimate, I got less health recovery, and I'll talk about that later. Now I pop my potion, 5,147 health recovery. So I went from 4k up to 5k. Now let's go over my skills. So this is my ultimate. I'm using Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea still. Now I'm not using Runic Embrace. I changed this to Runic Sunder. Because this is giving me even more armor. You still get the damage reduction and the minor aim, but it's reducing your target's armor and giving you extra armor. Alright, now I have the Spite Ward of the Lucid Mind. It's very important that you pick this morph and not the other one. I mean, the other one is a stronger shield, but this one says consumes crooks to refund the cost, so you can spam this one. Like, you can literally spam this if you really need it. Don't worry about this skill, I just use it if I'm doing a pledge with this build or anything involving PvE, but the main purpose for this tank is PvP. You don't need any skills for this. I just have Fate Carver because I wanted to show my friend what it does. But you need to get every passive for this skill line and this one. You don't need to touch anything from here. Again, don't worry about this. I just use this one in PvE. Because if the healer gets it to full health, then it's going to give the whole group major protection. And I already have major protection at all times, and I'll talk about that later. But I have Evolving Rune Mend for the heal over time. I'm not using the other one because it gives minor heroism. I don't need minor heroism because that's another buff that I have at all times. Again, I'll talk about that later. You don't need this skill. I mean, sometimes I like to use it when I'm in Cyrodiil because of the extra speed, but it's not really a skill that you need for this build. It's optional. Right, I mean, you don't need it, but you can use it. But I would advise you don't use it because it'll make you a bit weaker. It's just fully charged. Heavy attacks. The Ice Staff give you a damage shield. That's why I have this passive. You don't need these two passives. Now, for my heavy armor, you need to get every passive unlocked and maxed out. Don't worry about the werewolf. The only reason I'm using it is for this defending roar. But this is a temporary skill. Because it says while slotted, you gain major protection. For that skill, I would put it in whichever one, or whichever button you push least often. In this case, for me, it's L1. I like using square and R1 as my spammables, triangle for my heal, and circle for my shield. And then I use L1 as I'm gonna call it my oh crap button. But you need to max out these two passives. Of course I can't because my Undaunted's not level 9 yet, but I'm getting there. I'm resolving vigor. Don't need Warhorn. You don't need Purge either. I'm still a high elf though. High elf is just really good for this because this is a magic build. And I'm also using a destruction staff, so this is really good for that too. Because you gain 15% increased experience with the destruction staff skill line. And increases your experience overall by 1%, which means your character levels up faster. And that's great if you want to make a new character. But yeah, like this is why I use high elf. Like the extra weapon to spell damage doesn't hurt. Because as I said in my last video, the more spell damage you do, or the more spell damage you have, the more healing you do. And I got higher max magic. Alright, so I'll talk about what I'm going to replace Defending Raw with. Everyone might already know this skill. It is Revealing Flare. That's why I have this passive. You do want to work on maxing out this passive, so that way you can get the 10% magic recovery just from having this build slotted, or just from having this skill slotted. And it's going to do the same thing as Defending Roar, which is it'll give you major protection at all times. But if you do have the ability to get this skill, unlike me, then I would advise not going werewolf or vampire, because this is a gimmick build. Gimmick builds are supposed to be as defensive as possible, so which means that you don't want to be a werewolf or a vampire. Obviously, if you're a vampire, you're weak to fire and fighter's guild abilities, and then if you're a werewolf, you're weak to poison only in werewolf form. But still, even if you're in human form, you're weak to fighter's guild abilities. And that Dawnbreaker hurts. Like, trust me, that there has only been one person to ever kill this tank setup, and that person was using Dawnbreaker. You don't need one-handed shield. I was just using it when I was leveling up this character. Alright, so I'm still wearing the same sets. I'm thinking about putting a damage shield glyph on this, though. Alright, you know what? Might as well go do that right now.
Deposit?
Alright, I'm gonna go get myself a damage shield glyph. That's what you should have on your staff. You won't need the reduced armor because your taunt is already doing that.
Warrior gods, for you we strike.
So I'm gonna go to glyphs, jewelry glyph, champion points, CP 160. No, I'm not doing jewelry glyph. What am I doing? Weapon glyph. Damage shield. I'm gonna go with legendary. There you go. Alright, so yeah, I don't really need that skill. So I'm gonna use the hardening enchantment, which will give me an extra damage shield. Alright, so for my Willow's Path, I've got the Frost Staff on my only hotbar with defending. And then for this, I have Willow's Path jewelry. I got the ring and the necklace. I don't have 5 pieces of Willow's Path though. But I'm wearing protective on all of my jewelry. It's the same thing. Necklace with health recovery, one ring with magic recovery, and then the other ring is stamina recovery. And again, every glyph is golden. So this is giving me 126 magic recovery, stamina recovery, and health recovery. So this build, like this thing is, this build is vicious. I love it. Like you can just sit there and not worry about anything because recovery builds are just so broken, honestly. It's like I mean, I can be in Cyrodiil dueling, I can do Imperial City, I can do BGs, and not die a single time with this. Because I got insane resistance and even more insane recovery. And now I'm using the Oaken Soul Ring. I mean, this is just really good because, as I said, it's a 1-bar tank, and what would a 1-bar build be without Oaken Soul? So I'm using a fortified... Alright, hang on. Right here. If you want to pause this and read what Oaken Soul does, go ahead. But I'm not going to read all that. So, yeah. Go ahead and pause it if you want to read it, but I won't. I'm not going to read all that. I don't have the time. So I'm using fortified brass for my armor. By the way, everything is reinforced. Alright, it gives me 3 lines of armor and 1 line of health. So it's actually a really good tank set. For my monster set, instead of using Nazare, now I'm using the Lord Warden. It adds 1 line of armor. When you take damage, you have a 50% chance to summon a Shadow Orb for 10 seconds. That increases the physical and spell resistance of you and your group within 8 meters by 3,180. This effect can occur once every 10 seconds. So earlier, that wasn't even me fully buffed, technically, because I can only be fully buffed. If you be more technical, I can only be fully buffed if I stand in that orb, and that orb only spawns when I take damage. I am using the smoked bear haunch for my food because it gives you max health, health recovery, health recovery. It gives you max health, health recovery, magic recovery, and stamina recovery. So it is perfect for this tune. But I would say that if you can't do the smoked bear haunch, because I know it's a really expensive food, you can go with literally anything that gives you recovery for all 3. You honestly don't need the extra max health, because I've tanked pretty much every player in a BG run. Well, not every player in the game, but literally everyone that was currently in the BG. I've tanked all of them with this build, and I didn't even have my food buff on. So yeah, you don't really need that health if you don't want it. So I'd say if you don't feel like getting, I'm using the Serpent Stone for stamina recovery, but I would say if you don't feel like getting the Smoked Bear Haunch, because it's very expensive, then you can go ahead and get literally any food or drink that gives you recovery for all three. I would say the Ghastly Eyeball might be really good for this too. Okay, by the way, you need to max out both of these passives. Alright. I really like this skill though, because it gives me damage reduction and armor. Alright, so let's go to the champion points. Alright, come on here. You need to max out all of these. This needs to be maxed out. Same with Last Stand. And Swift Renewal, because my healing skills are healing over time. Unless you cast a shield with Crooks, because then that would be a burst heal. And then for my fourth slot of all, I'm using Arcane Supremacy. So I don't have that many slots. Or I don't have as many slottables as I purchased. Because I purchased all of these, but I only have these two. And then Swift Renewal and Arcane Supremacy. Alright, so I have Strategic Reserve. Boundless Vitality. Rejuvenation. Gonna come in here, max this out. And then get Pain's Refuge. Max out Hasty. Because this is a Cyrodiil build. Come over here. Max out Nimble Protector. You should max out this, 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 and this. And then max out Breakfall. This needs to be maxed out. And then everything else is optional. Alright. So I guess that concludes today's video. I hope that this tank helps you out as much as it did with me. I run BGs all the time with this build, and it is so much fun. Like, especially in Chaos Ball, like I grab the ball, and then literally nobody can do anything about it because I'm just so broken. Like I got so much sustain and so much resistance. I'm practically unkillable, no matter how hard people try to hurt me. I mean, the other day, I came across someone who had 138,000 damage a second, and they still could not even put a scratch on my tank. So, yeah. As far as PvP goes, this here is the strongest tank I have.